So, I'm sitting here drinking iced tea. Sorry if there's any noise. I try not to slurp into the mic because that is really obnoxious, and a surprising number of otherwise good YouTubers have driven me away by doing it. So, trying to avoid that, but it's like 90, so if you hear me doing it, sorry. Anyway, let's go tell the world that we're live. Streaming game dev. Gonna make more boss stuff. Paste. Alright. I've also been thinking about what's coming after this. And it's definitely going to have to be some kind of space game, but I have, because otherwise the assets won't match. But I have a couple of ideas, and it's just a matter of which one is still appealing to me when I finish this game, which could still be a little while. Anyway, in the last episode, what we did was we took those really hideously annoying long pulls that were required, because we used to have to pull this out manually, and we replaced them with these two smaller dockets that you can pull out without actually moving your ship any. Just get close and it works. And those are something that's actually feasible. And the result is that you can now open the longer gate without being super annoyed. The longer coolant rod. But it's still not very interesting to have a situation where nothing happens differently. So we've got 4 of these, right? And we don't want all 4 of them to have the exact same procedure. You know, you don't want to just do the same thing 4 times. That's pretty boring. We got a couple of options. One is that we can start some of them as already pre-destroyed. Another option is that we can have something change when one of them gets blown up. And I think that those are the 2 basic ideas, and I think what we'll do is we're definitely going to want to start one of them off as pre-destroyed. So let's go ahead and do that now. You, my friend, are pre-destroyed. And what we'll do is we'll take the shattered reactor rod and turn it on, and then we'll delete the coolant rod because we don't need it. Now we may have to, repeat this process if we change the prefab any, but that's okay. We're not in a big hurry, and we'll just delete all of the rod debris that isn't part of our setup. So there we go. So that is what we get when we pull them out. And in order to make this actually work, we're going to want to extend the 2 sub rods here, the 2 smaller rods, which both still have the shattered reactor component. We're going to want to delete those, but that's okay. We'll deal with that later. Because there's no reason to have those. It's just extra noise. But either way, what we're going to do is we're going to pull these coolant rods out. There it is. So, hold on. I just deleted them from the wrong one. Yeah, so these are not part of the equation, you stupid person. These are the ones we're talking about, and these don't have the coolant rods in them. So these ones do, because they're supposed to. Those are actually the full coolant rods. But because I'm not very bright, I named the small coolant rods the same thing. Brilliant, I know it. Just trying to get so I can see. Ah, there we are. Erdroy says, a lot of progress with the graphics. Some. I'm working on it, but right now we're building the boss system, and that means that we're trying to get these coolant rods to come out of their hole. And so for that, we're just going to... Yep. Unfortunately, the camera is at a very strange angle, so it's a little hard to see, but it should just be a matter of taking it up to maybe 10. Yeah, like that. And what we'll do is we will delete the part where it actually can be siphoned. So to do that, come on. Here it is, harvestable object. We're going to get rid of this. And what we'll do is we will have to add in a new variable that won't let them get scanned. Because if they get scanned, that's going to be annoying. So we're going to want to use a science target for that and just leave it empty. And that will keep them from getting picked up by our scanner, and you won't be like, scanning rods. And it'll do the same thing with this guy. To be honest, we're going to need that for a lot of them. I think it might be better to disable science scanning altogether. Yeah, let's do that. So in this particular game, we are going to try to disable the science scanner. The player's ship has a science scanner for a reason, and there are some things in here that do have the science scanner scanning. So what we're going to want to do is we're actually going to want to make it so that there's a scanner toggle where we can toggle it to only scan science targets. So that's inside of here. Erdor says, so you have to destroy the coolant rods to destroy the boss. Yep, that's the idea. This giant tank slowly spins around, and once you extend the coolant rods, they slam into these things on the sides and explode. So that's what we're now polishing that so that it's a little bit more fun. So here in the scanner head, we have the scanner itself. And what we'll do is we'll just add in a Boolean for whether or not it will scan non-science targets. We'll put that at the end. Public bool scan only science targets equals false. And I'm doing that this way just because that way it'll default to false for all of the other ship elements. And then what we'll do is we will have this change target here, try and figure out what's going on. Here it says a new target, start scanning got invoked, blah, 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 blah. So what we are going to want to do is make it so that it cannot select that target. And we've already got something like that, where it won't scan things that have a science target that's empty. Let's just take a look. There we are. See this? So here we're going to go ahead and say, if there is a science target and the science target field is null, and we're going to go ahead and simplify that. We're going to say if there is a science target, then if the science target field is null, do this stuff. Else, if there's no science target, then else if scan only science targets, would do the exact same thing. Now, we could have that clustered into a single if statement, but that feels like it would be a fairly long one, and I'd like to try and keep it simple. Erdroy says, I would rather see those rods be really, really long. Okay, well, in that case, I will hit play, and you will see those rods be really, really long. When it starts compiling. This is the first time I booted it up today, so it's taken its sweet precious time. There we are. There's a placeholder hallway. We'll cruise on over into the room itself. Doom, doom. Bam, bam. Dum, 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 dum. Here we come. So I agree. They should be quite long. Anyway, let's go ahead and put the scanner proper as true here, but not save the prefab. This is going to be the difference between the ship in the boss mode and in the other ones. The ship in this mode shouldn't have any problems. Shouldn't require me to set everything in the boss's domain up to be a non-science target. So, anyway, we'll turn the sun back on so we can see what we're doing again. This one comes pre-broken, as mentioned, and what I think I'm going to do is turn off the effects for these two, because the whole point of these continuous trickles is to make it so that they are going to draw the eye, and I don't want them to. These are already drawn. We're also going to delete the point light from one of them. There we go. There's 2-point lights, though, so we'll delete the other one as well. There we are. And that way it will be clear that this is, in fact, a busted element. And we won't worry about it. We'll just say, hey, look, it's busted. And if the player, dicks around for a long time and never actually figures out what to do, which should be pretty clear because if you hit space, it tells you. But if they do, they'll eventually see this pre-broken one, and they'll realize that all of these things come out of the surface of the drum. Now for the other three, I'm thinking about making them all identical, but having them do something when they get exploded that changes the characteristics of the other two. I'm thinking about one thing they might do is cause the drum to rotate rapidly. Another thing they might do is cause some of these pylons to move or get blown back so that they're more annoying in some way. They might also turn on some emergency heat elements. Anyway, right now this whole thing is tilted funny, as you can see, and that's fine in the game, but it's actually quite difficult for us to deal with. So we're going to just rotate the whole thing so that it's actually in an orientation that makes sense. And then we'll just move it so that it's back on top of the player again. There we are. Right back to where we were, but now with everything oriented so that we can actually click on stuff and the Unity mouse, or the Unity camera, scene camera, won't violently explode on us. Oh, it's so hot. I have an air conditioner, but I don't turn it on until I get home. So it is just now dropping the temperature down to below 90. Of course, it doesn't help that I'm talking a lot and sitting next to a piping hot computer. So the other three, I think that there are a couple of things we want this to do. One of the things I want it to do is turn on heat sensors that blast you. And that's something that already happens in the rest of the game. It's just that I want it to be substantially more, I want it to actually happen here. And normally I would think about mounting them on these pylons, but I don't want them to blast you into the core. I want them to blast you away from your target. So I want them to blast you either up or down. And since you're already near the top of the room, blasting you down makes a whole lot more sense than blasting you up. So we're going to attach them to the roof. Here's our ice pipes, and if we drop this into the reactor core, like so, we can go and take a look. And you can see that it's not in the right spot, and it's not the right size and all that stuff. We'll just keep adjusting it until it makes sense. So obviously the orientation is wrong. That's definitely the first thing you noticed, right? The orientation was wrong, and not that it's larger than the entire reactor chamber. I think that might be a little too small. Let's try it out. No, that's scaling. That's moving. All right, so actually that might not be the bad size. That might be just right. So we would like this to be aligned with the pipes, though, in terms of when you go past a pipe, this thing blasts you down. Just because that'll make it nice and something that the player can predict. And because of that, I think that we're going to want them to be part of the pipes. They're just not going to be part of the pipes in the game's sense. They're going to be part of the pipes in a Unity sense, just so that we can have them automatically link up with the pipes that they're involved with. And to do that, we're just going to take these reactor room pylons and drop in the ice pipe. There you go. Now, in terms of making these pylons all do that, we're going to end up duplicating this reactor room pylon and spinning it around a whole bunch of times. So we're not going to worry about that right now. We're going to hook it up so that it works first, and then we'll worry about it. So we want these ice pipes to start disabled and then turn on. So we're also going to want them to be fairly twitchy. So let's go ahead and first off, we don't want this at all. Goodbye. Player heat nearby. That range is probably fine. But we want to change this because we want this to fire a lot more aggressively. So something like this would probably be better. Optional say. Yeah, we'll just leave those for now. Detect for seconds before alerting. That's probably fine. So all of this should work, except we want it to start disabled. And what we'd like to do is enable it. But in order to enable it, we would have to add it into an event on every single one of the other pipes. And so that would mean that, we'd have tons and tons of these events. So we're going to need a boss management script to do that for us. And that's what we're going to program right now. It's going to be a small helper script, despite its name. Boss management script. And we'll put it right here on the reactor core. Come on. So what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to have a fireable function. So public void fire. And that's going to be something that is referenced by our various pieces. But basically what we want fire to do is to have three different things. And so we're going to have a public int stage equals 0. And then we're going to do an array of Unity events. So public Unity event, and we have to add in the, nope, sorry, events. Hand got ahead of me there. Public Unity event array stages. And when we fire, what we're going to do is we're going to say stages stage dot invoke. But there are some other things that we might want to do. So let's go ahead and have. No, I guess this is best. This is cleanest. And although it requires a little bit more clicking, it's better to be clean in this case. But we need to be sure that that's possible. So if stages dot length is less than or equal to stage, then return boss done stage plus plus. There we are. And that way we can just have any number of stages, and every time we call fire, the boss will advance one stage. And it doesn't matter who's calling it. So we can have all three of those events. Oh, good. Look at this. Let me go ahead and just post that on Twitter before I forget. Hey, Unity, Microsoft, what is it called? Visual Studio. This is a community install. Why is it demanding I... Let's go ahead and put that in. I guess I should probably... Hold on, I can't do that without opening up the art program. I guess we'll open up the art program then. Sorry, this is actually something that really annoys me. If you've ever hung out with me before and you noticed I wasn't using Visual Studio, it was because of this. And they changed it, so I thought, oh, look, they changed it. But what they actually did was trick you into using it for 30 days before forcing you to do the same old bullshit. Which is, skeezy. Create an account. Why would you trick me into using a free product just to disable it? Why would you disable the alternative product, which was, I've forgotten, monodevelop. if your replacement was a Trojan install. Why? If your replacement was, I'll just call it non-viable. There we are. So that's why I wasn't using Visual Studio, and apparently it's still why I'm not using Visual Studio. It's going to be interesting to try and install something else. Maybe I'll try JetBrains. The sheer gall of Unity to fake it. So that, you know, previously it was like, yeah, you don't have it installed, so I'm not going to open up. I'm going to spend 30 seconds popping up, and then I'm going to immediately close down because you don't have a license. I was like, well, fine, fuck you, but I'll just install something else. And this time it's like, oh, yes, everything's working perfectly. Oh, but fuck you. Great, thanks. Made my day. And I know that the Microsoft account is free. I just don't like the idea of constantly being logged into Microsoft's servers all the time. I don't even do that with my Windows account. So obviously, that's a non-go. That's not going to work out. And I'll probably try and find a replacement for it before Saturday when I stream again. But I might not. It really depends on if I have time. Anyway, this is working. The boss management script should be fine. So we're going to go ahead and get it to work. Just grind, 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 pop back into existence. Now, there we are. So in order for this to work, we're going to have a couple of different stages, right? But we're also going to need these reactor cores to do that call when they explode. So we're going to go down into the reactor core here and reactor room, reactor exit, reactor... there it is. It's the reactor core, right? We're in it. So where's the... Am I hallucinating? There it is. So these here have to call it when they explode. And the way they do that is right now they actually have an explode function. So Peter Nerlich says that he got soft forced to use it in the assembler lecture because the professor liked its debugger. That's interesting. Assembler is one of the few things that Visual Studio is not really very good at. Interesting choice. I mean, it's not bad at it, I suppose. It's just Microsoft's mostly good at the Microsoft languages. So the Capsule Collider should end up... that's on a sub-object. There it is. So here you can see our reaction. So we're going to just hit plus and drop in the reactor core boss object. Fire. There we go. And then we hit apply. And that should mean that all of the other two valid ones also get set up properly. So if we look into the other one here, where's the reactor coolant rod? Oh, I'm sorry, I'm being stupid here. Man, I named too many things coolant rod. I'm just not very bright sometimes. Look at that. It didn't stick. So we have to do it manually for each. I thought that might be the case. It's not that big a deal. The reason it didn't work is because this boss management script is in the scene, not in the same object. And therefore, when we save it, it actually goes through a process where it's cleaned out and then re-saved. So it doesn't keep the references to the scene, even though these objects are in the same scene and could theoretically remember that it's that object that they were trying to reference. I don't know if that made any sense to anybody because I was just talking as I was working here. Basically, it means that we have to do it 3 times. No biggie. Peter Nerlich says that he was quite annoyed. Erdoy says he's using VS because there's nothing so much powerful. Well, there's nothing wrong with VS as long as you don't dislike Microsoft. I dislike Microsoft a lot. Not as much as Google. I dislike Google even more, but fight the power, I guess. Rah, rah. It's just I don't like being logged into shit. There's no reason for it. I don't need to be logged into stuff to do my work, so you shouldn't force me to be. Anyhow, now that we've have those three firing, we're going to want to have this actually do things. And the first thing we're going to want to do is turn on the reactor pylons here. These ice pipes have to get turned on, but right now there's only one ice pipe. So we're going to delete these other pylons, and we're going to look at this pylon, and you can see that this pylon's center is actually in the center of the room, as long as it's not inside of the reactor core itself, which, is it? It might be. Hold on. No, it's fine. So because of that, when we duplicate it, we can simply spin it around its axis like this, and it works fine. Was that too much? I think it was right. Yeah. And then we can actually just duplicate both and spin them 60, and then duplicate both and spin them 60, like so. And that doesn't seem quite right, because I think that these two are off by one. Oop. Does that seem right? It doesn't actually seem right. Did I get the angles wrong? Oh, they're supposed to be 8, not 6. Oh, idiot. Wait, hold on. The ice pack is not above the correct pylon. Hold on. That is obviously not the right position for our ice pylon, for our ice thing. It should be near the pylon so that it's associated with the correct pylon. Otherwise, it's just confusing. There we are. And now we can do that duplication. There we go. Now the problem with this approach is that there's no way for us to grab all 8 of those nice and easy, so it's going to be a little bit of tedious, busy work to put them in, but we'll go ahead and do it anyway. The question is whether we want it to be stage 1, or the first stage, or the second stage. And I think it makes more sense as the second stage, because as the first stage, well, I guess we can just swap it around as we see fit, so who cares, right? Let's go ahead and drop in a bunch of these. We're going to need 8. And we'll just open up all of these, except for the reactor core. We don't need that one. And drop them in one by one. Ice pipe. Ice pipe. Ice pipe. Ice pipe. It's hard to tell which one is which, so just select it. There we are. Ice pipe. Ice pipe. Scroll down again. Select it. Ice pipe. Ice pipe. And then we just tell it to turn on the ice pipe part. Exciting stuff. There we go. So now the ice pipes should turn on when we pull out a segment. Let's go ahead and try it. Turn off the sun and just take a quick look. Where are we here? I thought we were... Oh, there it is. No? Wait, where are we? Oh, wait. Am I going the wrong way here? My placeholder hallway seems confused. It looks like I may have blocked it with something. Hold on. So there is the placeholder hallway, and it's piped straight into a pylon. I don't remember there being 8 pylons, but I clearly sculpted the room to have 8 pylons. Maybe I'll go back in time and remember it a little bit better. But clearly, I think that it was 6, but these 2 pylons weren't in the mix. And I think that that was the whole point. So there were 6, but they weren't at 60 degrees. They were at 45. I turned the sun back on. Darn it. So we should be able to get in now, right? There we go. So let's see whether or not this works. To be honest, I can't see them. I should be able to see them. Oh, is it dark enough that I can't see them, or are they actually invisible? Oh, wow. They're basically invisible. That's interesting. I'm not sure if that's good or bad. But they turned on. Look at that. Why are they already on? Hold on. Did I not turn them all off? I should have. Yeah, hold on. There's something wrong with this where it's firing even though it's fire. Oh, here is the problem. If not enabled, return. I forgot that I'd consolidated that to prevent it from using too much in the way of processing power. So it doesn't actually check if it's enabled. Now it does. This should crash and explode. There we are. And now we should see those warnings. Those things really are invisible. So, I didn't get hit. There's the pre-broken one. I have to trigger them in order to see how they work, and they don't seem to care. Let's make sure that they're actually turned on, because maybe I only turned on one of them? No, I turned on all of them. So for some reason, they're not actually triggering, which is a damn shame. Could be a couple of things. One of the things is that it could be a detect for seconds before alerting issue. So if I change that, if I change that, it might work out. Let's go ahead and select them. Change that to 1. And it could also be the heat curve, so let's change that to this. There we are. We'll just get right back into it. Because the idea is we want it to really screw with us trying to pull out. See, it should be firing now. It should already be firing. But it's not. It doesn't care. Why is this thing not firing? So you can see how there's like tiny bits of notification, but I don't know which of these is actually the active one here. Is it this one? I'll just go backwards until I see something respond to my pulsing here. Well, one of them responded, but it wasn't the one I have selected, so we'll keep going. There, that's probably him then. Let's turn around. So it's this one here, right next to this pylon, but for some reason it's not... No, it's definitely not that one. Let's go ahead and select it manually. So if we go over to the player ship... Where's the player ship? There you are. Yep, there we are. So this is the player's ship, and I guess I'll turn the sun back on. And this is our coolant. You can see how much bigger it is than the player's ship. My guess is maybe it's because it's so big that the range doesn't make any sense. Maybe I just need to radically bump up the range here. Let's go ahead and try that out. And then once again, we're going to want to select this one specifically. And get back into it. Wow, it's not responding at all. What's going on? I have the right one selected, so why isn't it... Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to turn on just one of them and debug it and see what the heck's going on. So this one is to the right of the main entrance. It's 2 pylons in on the right. And we're going to just go on over there and see what's going on. And the way we're going to do that is we're going to go ahead and turn on some debug functionality where we just have it talk too much. So here, we're going to go ahead and just take a quick little look. Debug.log range of, and then give it the range. And then we'll see debug.log. Oh, it's probably this here. Can't see the player. Hit.transform.name in the way. And then that should be enough to tell us what's going on. Let's go ahead and give it a shot. So, second pylon to the right and straight on till morning. And now that I think about it, I'm not actually sure which way is right. It must be that way. Hold on. So we're getting feedback here, and you can see that the ranges are 2,000 some odd, so it's not a matter of the range being incorrect. It must be something else. Well, it should already be firing, but you can see that it's not. Okay, so it's this is definitely the one we have selected. It's the only one that's on. And the range is definitely short enough that it's getting through. It's not complaining that there is no... it's not complaining that it's being blocked, so it's getting through there. And instead it's saying something else. So we should be firing. And duration of heat is 0. Duration of heat plus equals time.delta time. Oh, you know what? I bet the curve isn't aggressive enough, and it's like, we don't know what the curve is like, so we're going to go ahead and put that in here. Curve value of plus heat curve dot evaluate heat. That'll tell us how much it's being diminished by. It's been a long time since I touched this, so it's a little bit hard to remember what's going on. But this should be fairly straightforward. Oh, I went the wrong way. I was checking Twitter in the background and got myself turned around. So here you can see the curve value is 0.9, which means that it's pretty much 100%, and it should be firing now. But it's not, even though it should now be well within range. So that's interesting. What's going on? The base range is 2,000. If you multiply 2,000 by 0.9999, it should be higher than 1,400. But for some reason, it must not be. Debug. Oh, put it before the return. Idiot. I'll put it here, actually. Debug.log within range. There. Now we should be able to tell, right? Let's go ahead and see. So, as we get closer, should be 2, 3, 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 0, now. Okay, so did you see that? It happened. But it only happened once, and I think after that it just got compiled into the same one. They're collapsed. There we are. So here you can see we are within range. Within range, as the case may be. Which means it's working. So what's going on? What's going on here? The problem is that the duration of heat really isn't going up or anything. If we take a look here, this duration of heat should increase. And it's not increasing, so there's something screwy going on. So let's do this again. Come on. So it should now start increasing, but it's not increasing. You see the duration of heat is still 0, which is interesting. So something is causing the duration of the heat to not increase, even though it should be increasing, because it gets here, right? So debug.log heat duration is plus duration of heat. My guess is that there might be something wrong with the update. So we're going to go ahead and take a look. I should probably go back to Twitch so I can see what the heck I'm doing. Where's Twitch? There it is. This is the great part of developing a game, when you spend an hour trying to track down why a number isn't going up. And you can see that it's not saying anything, which means it's not getting that far. So it doesn't get here. But I already put in something here, debug.log. Maybe I bet it got lost because it was being collapsed. I'm just an idiot. Okay, so the first thing I thought was probably correct. Let's try it. Hit.transform.name plus in the way. We're going to go ahead and see what's up, because clearly it's not firing. And I bet the only reason I didn't see why it wasn't firing was because I had collapsed the indicators, the messages. So if it's colliding against itself, I wouldn't be surprised, but I'll be very annoyed. Yeah, ice is in the way. So it's colliding against itself. The basic problem here is that this ice is an object that is part of this whole setup. And the way I do this testing is that I broadcast it from a certain range here. Transform.position, and then it goes in the position it wants to towards the player. But the problem is that that's inside of the ice. And so what we end up with is something where it's hitting the ice, because we scaled it up so much that now the ice envelope is outside of that center point. The two probable fixes are to either make it skip the first meter to make it so this ice doesn't collide with it, or some other similar situation. But I think what we can do here is just move the ice up slightly. So if we open this up and we grab the ice, is this not the right ice rhyme? Hold on, which of these is it? Here it is. So this is the ice. So we're just going to select all of these ices. And we'll slide them up like ninjas. Go ninja, go ninja, go. There we go. And that should be enough to fix the problem. Let's find out. Someone's got a subwoofer. I'm out of tea, so I'm switching to water. It's still very hot. There we are. And now you can see it's actually working. All right. Now that it's working, we'll turn it off. And that's obviously so that it can turn on again later on. Although maybe having one of them already turned on might actually not be a bad idea to get the player kind of primed for it. Yeah, let's go ahead and try it. Let's go ahead and leave one of them on. But we're going to want to change all of their settings because these settings aren't quite good enough. This is going to want to be like 1. There we go. So let's go ahead and give this a shot and see whether or not it works as hoped. Well, I got the sun on. I forgot to turn the sun off, so it's going to be ugly. But that's okay. We'll turn the sun off later. I should really just put in a scene view only light so I don't have to keep turning the sun on and off. There we go. Beautiful. We should actually be right underneath the one that's supposed to fire even when we're turned off. You can see how it's now... It's supposed to be firing. I don't... It might be that the fire is so small that we don't see it. So this should be the one that's firing, right? Yeah, that's certainly the one that's on. And what's supposed to happen is this fountain is supposed to fire... It's not firing. This might just be a scale issue. Let's go ahead and turn it off for a moment so we can see it in its normal mode, just to see what the heck's going on, because I don't... That's not the... Why is it zooming in here? The particle effect isn't here, is it? No, it's not. It's... What's going on? Why is it... I told it to zoom in on that particle effect, and it zoomed in here. Is that where the particle effect is? No, it can't be. Oh, look, there it is. Oh my god, I put them all in upside down. So I'm just an idiot. That makes a lot of sense. And I'm not a big fan of how Steam is suddenly pushing alerts to my system. That's not something that Steam used to do, and it is extraordinarily annoying. I will have to remember to actually turn off Steam every single time I do anything from now on. As much as I like the games or whatever, that's incredibly obnoxious. I just don't understand companies these days. They all want to bother you. Engagement's the only thing that matters, I guess. You've engaged me to turn it off. And the reason the ice pack was wrong, or was in the wrong spot, was because I was broadcasting out of the wrong side of the device, which should have been obvious in any sort of, person with a brain. But let's go ahead and give this a shot now. It should work as intended. Aside from the sun. Let's go ahead and see whether we can get it to fire. We're going to want to turn off that debugging message stuff. It's noisy. Yeah, so here it is. See how it turns on there? And the idea being that we're going to want to get blasted down by it. But we're going to need to extend it, I think, because I don't think it's long enough to actually blast us away from a... yeah, it's actually too short. So we're going to need to extend this effect considerably. And so that's what we'll do right now. We'll go ahead and go into the fountains and radically increase the scale of the blast effect. So here's the splash effect for all of them. And this is an effect which comes blasting down like that. And you can see how it just barely reaches down far enough to matter. So we're going to want to fix that up. Now, the good news is that we can just change this particle effect, because the particles themselves are what cause the ship to fly away. So by just changing them a little bit, we should be fine. So the basic idea of these particles is that they're not really moving. They just are big. They must be moving. Are we scaled up really, really high or something? Let's go ahead and increase the start speed. No, I don't think that changed anything. Let's increase the start lifetime. No, it didn't change anything. I don't remember what I did to make this happen. That's the mouth hider, isn't it? No, it's a splash. So there it is. It's definitely this. It doesn't seem to be actually affected by anything I'm doing here. It's also strange because there's a burst right at the beginning and then it stops. Okay, so there is a size over lifetime thing where it grows to its maximum size. And there's a rotation over lifetime, which I don't think does anything. But this isn't even causing the collision detection. There's no collision on this. So what is causing the collision detection? It's the root object, I guess. So what happens when I hit play is it plays all of these effects. And I didn't realize that I was nested inside of other effects. So this is the one that I'm going to want to fuss with. Yeah, there. You can see how that's a much more aggressive scale. And that one has the collision attached to it. That's better. I don't know what I was screwing up before. Anyway, the emission shape is wrong, so we're going to want to fix this. The problem is that the angle is 0, and we actually don't want it to have a 0 angle. But I think we should select all of them before we do anything, so that we don't have to readjust it 8 times or 6 times. So we'll just go ahead and put in the 1000 scale there, and we will also put in an emission size difference on the cone, so that you can't really avoid it. There we go. Fun, fun, fun. All right, so let's go ahead and try it out. I forgot to turn off the sun. They might be a little bit too sensitive now because I got that bug before where I was trying to figure it out, and now they are ultra super sensitive. You can see how they're already blasting, which is a little bit too aggressive, I think. Whoa, that didn't work. They should have knocked me down, and they didn't. So what's up? What's up with you? You should have collided with me and knocked me down. Do I need more particles? What's going on here? These might not be what I thought they were, because I'm not seeing any sort of pushing happening here. Okay, so I think what's doing the pushing is actually a different script, but let's take a quick little look here. Collision. That looks an awful lot like the thing that should be doing the work. Oh, here, a robust particle player, blast range. There we are. So we'll go ahead and up that blast range to 1500. And that should be all we really need. So let's take a quick look. I should have lowered the operational range on these so that they weren't quite so silly, but that's fine. We'll do some silly testing before we rein it in. through and... Oh, gosh. Really? The blast range is 1500. Why aren't you blasting? It may be a couple of different things. It could be that that's not the player's blast range. That might be the debris blast range. So let's go ahead and quickly see here what's going on here. If we open up this robust particle system player, I'm going to take a look at the blast range. Here's where we see play. If play and blast range, draw instance base.blast. So this blast range is actually irrelevant. This is actually not going to be of any use to us in the boss room because there's no debris in the boss room. So we're going to go ahead and bring that down to 0. And we're going to put in a special case where if it's 0, we don't use... Yeah, there we are. It's already there. Now, in terms of moving the ship, this is not moving the ship. That's a warning a military scanner that something is moving. And it's talking about the particles themselves. So this particle knockback must be it. So here we can see that we got an on-particle collision. If you've collided with something, then if it's not the ship, go away. If it is the ship, then smooth accelerate it. And up here in update, we take the smooth acceleration and we move the ship. So this is a particle collision method. Do we just not have enough particles, or are they too small? Let's go ahead and make this collision a little bit more interesting. So the collider here, you can see how it has a radius scale of 0.00000000000. Make that 1 instead. The problem is that can collide with things besides the player. And there are some other things in this game world. So what we might end up accidentally doing here is having those particles all collide with the rotating drum instead of trying to hit the player. And that's obviously going to be a sweet spot we'll have to try and aim for. But basically we want these to hit us. There, that's a little bit better. Let's go ahead and increase the number of particles as well. So I think we can just manually tell it how many particles that we want. Yeah, 30. Increase that to 50. Each one of them is a collider, so it is, a collider check thing. It interferes with colliders. So they are a little bit more expensive, by which I mean a lot more expensive than ordinary particles. But I think that's okay, as long as we can get this feeling right. Yeah, that's kind of how I want it to be. So you can see how there's all sorts of particle effects happening in the background there. That's because it's colliding with the drum. I'm not sure whether I like that or not, but I'll leave it in for now. Yeah, okay, so this is now working pretty much as I wanted it to, which is great. So let's go ahead and turn off the sun and make sure that all of this stuff still looks right and feels good when we are doing it in the dark. And what we're going to do is we are going to first test and make sure that the one that starts turned on is something we can see. Oh, I forgot to change. Sorry, I need to change their ranges before we do anything else. These ice pipes have a ridiculously long range. So we're going to drop the detect heats down to 1 second and drop the range down to 1200. And that should help us to make sure that these don't fire off just all the time. Oh, and I need to turn off the debug log now that we've figured out what the heck's going on. Okay, that's about right. Good enough. Let's go find a thing that we can pull out. That one's not going to work because it is already pulled out. That one is the pre-pulled out one. But this one should work. Come on, where are you? Where are you? There you are. I bumped it. I should probably make that reverse a lot less aggressive. Yeah, that reverse is too aggressive. The problem is I actually don't know whether or not this is going to hit anything anytime soon because I tilted this so that some of them wouldn't hit. Let's go ahead and stop it for now. Turn off the debugging logs because I don't need them anymore. And now we'll go ahead and just grab the first one right away because I know that works. I built it like that specifically so that I could do testing without having to tear my hair out. Zoom. Of course, now the question is whether or not we're actually going to manage to do this before we get hit by the heat detection system. I need to fix that. I'll do that next. You are turned all around? You ready to smash into something? That's cute. Let's go ahead and see whether or not the other one... Yeah, they all turned on. Look at that. If I reshape the drum slightly, I could get them to be pretty interesting. All right, so that's one thing I wanted to do. The other thing I wanted to do is accelerate the drum slightly. So to do that, we're going to just add in on the military reactor core. Oh, we got a little too many functions here, so that's fine. This one's already turned on, so we don't need it. We'll just go ahead and delete it. And then what we'll do is in here, we're going to tell the main reactor core to spin at a different rate. And as you can see, there's no function to let me do that. So what we're going to need to do is open up the automatically spin function here. Now, I actually, it is possible to tell Unity that this should be able to be set, but unfortunately for me, I don't remember how to do it. There's some kind of bracket thing that you can do, but I don't happen to know it. So we're going to go ahead and just put one in that's a function. So public void set speed. Might just be that you use getters and setters, but whatever. Float new speed. Speed equals new speed. Exciting stuff. Amazing complexity. And so we'll just go back over into our reactor core and set that up. And what we'll do is we will change it to be spinning faster. So spinning at, I think, 2 right now. Let's go ahead and just check that because it'll be really silly if it's the wrong. -2. Okay. So we're going to just bump that up to, say, -4. And I'm going to remove this one. And now, when we go in and cause one of those things to explode, it should rotate a lot faster. I'm also considering making it rotate the other direction. There's lots of possibilities here. Maybe rotating the other direction would be the cool thing to do for the last one. I don't necessarily want the last one to be harder. I think making the second one the hardest one is the best idea, or at least the most sudden spike in difficulty. Just because that way you can, you don't feel like you're just being tortured. Once you get through the hard stuff, it works fine. What was I testing? Oh yeah, I was testing the rotation. So we're gonna let it just slam into this, and we should see it rotate a lot faster. Yep. See how that suddenly started to rotate faster? I think what I'll do is I'll have it rotate the other direction. And then we'll add in a second phase, and that's going to be... Oh, it just duplicated it, huh? We're not going to need to do any of that stuff, so we'll just delete all of these here. And it's going to be the same reactor core. Automatically spin, set spin. And we'll make it spin really quite fast. Not super fast, not unattainably fast, but fast. The other thing we need to do is to go into the ship controls, player ship, cockpit. I'm going to open up this cockpit. And basically there is a situation where we set the throttle. So, doot, 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 doot. This is actually setting the throttle, but there's a place where when we bounce off of something, here it is. So when we ram into something, we reverse, and that actually turns out to not be great. So what we're going to do here is we are going to change how this works. If throttle is greater, well, what we're going to want to do is say throttle equals vector3.lerp, oh no, mathf.lerp. Throttle negative 0.1 f, and then we're going to just bring it down by 0.35 f. And hopefully that will keep it from that really, really, really sudden pop. Because I don't know if you can tell just by looking at me flying around, but whenever I bumped into the wall in here, my ship flew into reverse and just drove me away from what I was trying to grab. And it was really obnoxious. So that's obviously not a great situation. But basically that exists so that when you're in the early parts of the game and you ram into a wall, you don't just continuously try and ram into the wall. I was trying to like automatically make it do something clever to help you back out, and yeah, that's definitely much better. I don't think... either I have to make it so that doesn't happen at all in the boss room, or I have to make it smarter or something, but this should work. Now let's see if it reverses. It did not reverse. Huh. That was unexpected. I didn't expect that to not work. That's pretty basic stuff, right? So the stage is 1. All of these should have... Oh! As you can see, I'm just an idiot. It's not -2. It's just plain old 2. Anyway, I'm pretty confident that's going to work. It's not quite ready for prime time yet, so I'm not going to give you a new version this week because I haven't actually made the final part where it explodes. I'm going to do that on Saturday, assuming I can make it so that the coding software doesn't screw me over. And I will see all you folks then. If you have any questions in chat, I'll answer them, but I am done with the stream. Thanks for stopping by, and I'll see you some other day.